Hey y'all, welcome back, episode 4 of my series. And today, I'm joined with a very special guest. Charlotte's own, Jamla's own, Rock Nation's own, Reuben Vincent!
It's me, what's up, what's going on?
Just had some good food.
Facts. Had some Chick-fil-A, good little salad. Been trying to eat better, change my eating habits.
You know, 2023, right. New habits.
Elevation, mindset.
How's it going?
Good day. I did some content earlier. I actually just freestyled on Baby Keem and Kendrick's Hillbillies. Mm-hmm. So I shot like a little freestyle Friday to that. So I've just been moving around all day, getting some sun, all that stuff. So
smooth middle of the week.
Yes, exactly. I just got back from LA 2 weeks ago. Been working on some new music. So I'm kind of just trying to now plan about how we about to put this new music out. Is it gonna be a summer release? Is it gonna be a fall release? All the extras of, the
logistics.
business. Yeah, exactly, so.
Well, speaking of music, it's been 5 months since Love is War.
Facts.
Today's the 31st, and it dropped on the 27th, so it's been a clean cut 5 months. How's it been?
Man, it's a lot of experiences. I feel like I've grown so much from Love is War, because your first project is always like your first baby. You know what I'm saying? So then you have other babies after that, and it's like whatever mistakes you made with your firstborn, you redirect it when you have a second and a third and stuff like that. So, and we live in such a time where it's like, it's not like the past where it's like albums, it's like, oh, person does an album for like 1 year and then they take 3 years off and then they come back and then they put another, like people are dropping more frequently. And 2, Love is War was supposed to be out last summer. Like I finished Love is War like in June or like, probably a little bit before June. But business stuff, sample clearances and all of that stuff to the point where it's like, we had to wait all the way to the top of it. We was gonna put out in October, but then it was like, it's too close to like holidays and like December and stuff like that, that it ended up being a January release, which I was happy about because it got the recognition it deserved. I think it kicked the year off incredibly. It built a lot of momentum up now where people are like eyes on me, but I'm so far past Love is War already, and not even in a negative way. Like Love is War is an incredible project, but it's like, if y'all thought that was fire, wait till what's about to happen. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at mentally, and it's just good to know that, good music, you can take forever and, mess with something for a long time and people still embrace it. And it just gave me more hunger to like, all right, I'm not waiting no more. I want to give y'all more, more, you know what I'm saying? So
how has the pace of your life changed since then?
Quick. It's been very quick. I've done a lot in 5, like even you saying 5 months, I was like, dang, 5 months?
It doesn't feel like it. I mean, it kind of feels like yesterday, but like a lifetime at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've done a lot in 5 months and experienced a lot where it's like, I think once Love is War dropped, I had to like kind of adjust to like, okay, this is my life now. And there's no more turning back, where it was like before I was in school and I was doing music, where it was like, oh, you know what I'm saying, I gotta go to school, or I might have to go to work, where it's like, no, this is my life, this is my career. Is no plan B, it's like you're in this now. So it's like, I just had to adjust to that and realize like this is an opportunity of a lifetime and I just gotta take it full-fledged and run with it.
I peeped that there is a commentary on SoundCloud.
Yes. On
most platforms like YouTube, Genius, things like that, you like to like really explain a lot of things. I feel like in hip hop, rap, R&B, I really don't see that, especially commentaries. The only commentary I know is Dirty Sprite 2 by Future.
Fact.
Why is that important to you to like put people on game? Because some people, they don't want you to know what things mean. They don't want you to know, oh, this is a double entendre. You gotta be smart enough. You gotta really be in a rap to know.
You know what I'm talking about.
Kind of just tell us about that, because I see it a lot from you, and it's like something that you're like really, really almost like passionate about.
100%, definitely passionate about. I think me being, when I was growing up and like, the artists that I look up to are like Kendrick Lamar's and Kanye West's of the world, where it's like they always made music with deeper meanings and like they had different layers in their music. So, and it's funny, ironically, I don't know if you're into astrology. My
mom tries to put me onto it.
But you like,
if you talk to me about it, I'll understand. Right. But long story short, me, I'm a little bit skeptical.
Right, 100%. Like we all should. And I think you should be skeptical about astrology, because people could put a post up and it'd be like, oh, you're a freaking, I don't know, Taurus. You like green Skittles.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm
she
saying?
told me like 2 years ago, this is the most money you're ever gonna make. It was the least amount of money I ever made that
Yeah,
year.
see, I don't believe stuff like that, but I'm a very intuitive person, and that comes from, you know, some will say, I'm not even big into astrology all the way, but somebody has taught me about my chart, and they'll be like, you're like a Pisces moon. I'm a Capricorn, but you're a Pisces moon, and I guess Pisces are intuitive and they're very deep thinkers. But then they told me my 2 favorite artists had the same moon as me. So I was like, oh snap. So, you know, I think it's just a part of my nature to kind of be like deep, and I'm always deep thinking, and I'm like, so I'll be trying to share like, yo, did you see what I did there? And like, cause it's always, people don't catch it always. And aside of the astrology thing, I think, you know, we live in a time where people don't catch everything that you say. So sometimes I feel like I got to break it down for people to understand where I were. And even like years from now when I leave, you know what I'm saying? Whenever I'm like, you know, I'm done with rap or just, you know, done period, it's like, you can always go back to the commentary that I left, you know what I'm saying? So obviously me leaving rap is not going to be anytime soon, but anytime I'm like, you know, when I'm like, I'm done with music and people go back and look at my career, they're gonna be like, dang, he said this, he said this, he said this, he said that. So it's kind of just like setting a timestamp for when people can go back into like a time machine and see a time capsule from a certain era, they can be like, okay, we had Love is War, but then he told us all of this about Love is War. And now I see it, you know what I'm saying? So.
For me, I need commentaries on movies. What's that movie with the clouds and they was going crazy with the horses? You know what I'm talking about? Anyway, you know, all his movies, right? Basically, all his movies, I need a commentary for you.
Oh, you talking about the one with Keke Palmer in it?
Yes, yeah. I needed something to explain what the heck that thing was and the significance, and whether it's movies or like your commentary. Even when I listen to the Dirty Sprite 2 commentary, like, some songs I'm like, oh shit, and like I have a deeper appreciation for it.
Right.
Or like the backstory too. Oh, we met with this producer and that producer, and I'm like, dang, like I feel like I was really there in the studio.
Yeah, absolutely.
This album was like almost supposed to be released like last year type of thing. And you've been talking about it for a while too. Leading up to the album, you were talking about something that you and I relate on is we're both immigrants, or both of immigrant, like first generation.
Yeah.
I was born in Syria. But you come from Liberian parents, both Liberian parents?
Yeah.
You said it's a goal of yours to put that into this album. Almost like a commentary. Do you mind like letting us know what bits and pieces for the people who can't really catch on to like what those references or aspects are in that album?
Love is War, it starts with the title. Honestly, like my parents are both from Liberia, but I'm the only child from my mom and dad. They have kids with other people, well, whoever they married after they had me. I have the utmost respect for both of my parents, obviously, but when I was younger, I think one of the internal conflicts I dealt with is being in 2 households. Where it's like, live with my mom, go to my dad's on the weekends, and then if they're not at the best relationship, I might not go to my dad's house for a little bit. And how that affected me until the point where I was realizing, and you know, I have real conversations with my parents about it, where I was like, yo, you know, me not being around, like telling my dad, like me not being around you had an effect on me, and telling my mother, you not letting me go see my dad had an effect on me. And, you know, then after, you know, us having that healing moment of having those conversations, they start telling me their history about, you know, my mom's father being a soldier in the Liberian Civil War from the 1990s. And, you know, him telling her he wants her to be in America before the war starts, so he protected her from it. And then him passing away in it. And then my dad being a refugee who fled from Liberia to America in 1998, and then met my mom and had a love child. And you know, the definition of love child is a child who's made out of not being married. And my parents were never married. So me doing all this research and hearing this from my mom, hearing this from my dad, I didn't realize it when I was younger, but I realized it older, where it was like, because of living in a separate household and, you know, these things and y'all conflicts and y'all relationships, it reaped into my personal relationships, not just with the other sex, but myself. And like, you know, how I handle different things, like materialistic things and all of that stuff. So I was kind of just shedding all of that, where I was like, man, I need to let go of all of that, like, you know, pent up aggression or resentment that I have that's not letting me properly love myself. But sometimes to get to that love, you have to go through those wars. So then it just brought me back to my parents in Liberia and all of that. And just even like being to a point where it's like, okay, both of them experienced the war in the 90s and then come to America, you know, fall in love for a little bit and have a child out of love, you know what I'm saying? It was like, dang, there can be a light at the end of the tunnel, you know what I'm saying? And I felt like, you know, for a while, you know, I was brought in to kind of heal some of the things they needed to face. And, you know, that's all of that, but then also just putting Liberia on my back because my mom and my dad tells me how the country, like, you know, suffers back in Africa. So just making sure every interview I go to or anytime I'm putting stuff out, I'm like speaking them just as much as I'm speaking about Charlotte. I was really intentional about that. And, you know, I did it like little Easter eggs in Love is War, but I think with my next music, I'm trying to elaborate on that even more, you know what I'm saying, in my sound and all of that, so.
Well, that's beautiful. I don't know if it was the same for you, but my mom would just always say, you are the face of Syria, you are the face of Islam.
Bruh.
And I'm like, I'm 5 years old, what am I supposed to do?
That's what my mom be saying too.
It kind of gives you character growing up in the US. Even if you didn't immigrate, if you're first generation, you have all this pressure, but it really builds like to your character. And I think it's something like you'll never let go of. This country might try to take that away from you and everything, but it's literally inside of you forever.
Facts.
The album cover is also beautiful too.
Thank you.
I look at things that maybe other people don't, like, you know, the lighting, the edge of the mirror, right? And you're looking at yourself, you're internalizing.
Yes.
Shirt is off, you know, might be a little bit vulnerable.
Yes.
Who was the man in the mirror to you versus who was the man or even like the young man before?
The man in the mirror that I was looking at was, for a long time, I didn't fully accept myself. Like, I accepted myself like 90% or like 80%, maybe even 70. But it was like, I think looking in the mirror made me, like, the reason why I chose that is because the eyes is the window to the soul, I felt like. And, you know, looking in the mirror is like, you know, you're looking at yourself and accepting yourself for the things that you do good, your strengths, but then also your imperfections. So I think just accepting the whole human being and looking at that like, man, you gotta internalize all this stuff you dealt with, but accept it too. Don't just internalize it and keep it in. Accept it and be like, this is me and this is who I'm supposed to be. You know, I went through this for me, not against me. I'm not a victim, you know what I mean? And I think in that cover art, that's what I was looking at. It was like the confidence of like, hey, I went through all of this and I'm accepting it. You know what I'm saying? Before then, you know, I probably wouldn't have done that, but it took me getting to a point of, like, I'm big on, like, you know, I'm not a religious person, but I'm spiritual. So, you know, I do, like, I'll meditate, journal, you know, prayer, you know what I'm saying? Like, just do different spiritual regimens to keep me, like, focused and moving to a place where I'm transcending always. And that even goes to, like, I don't know if you ever heard of, like, shadow work. So shadow work, they ask you deep questions. It's like a 30-day journal prompt, where it's like every day they're gonna ask you a question that kind of pierces into your shadow side, stuff that you don't like to look at. What's one thing you regret? What's one, like all of that stuff. So it brings up all these emotions, or what's one time you didn't forgive somebody? Or what's one time you felt like somebody took advantage of you? Like a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm like, whoa. So I had did all of these stuff around this time when I was working on Love is War that made me kind of face things I was not really prepared to face, but it led me to growth. The mirror picture, by that time I was in a growing phase, and I even grew even past that picture when I take, like, looking at that, even now I'm like, man, I've grown so much from even then. So
when was the picture taken?
Like May of last year. So about like a year ago from now, yeah. And
it's crazy. I mean, it feels like yesterday, but it also feels like a lifetime ago.
Fact.
Like I said earlier. Well, I have a gift for you.
Oh, for real?
It's behind me. You know, I told you earlier I like to give people gifts.
Yes. Oh. Oh my goodness. Yo, this dude is the dude. And there's a Netflix documentary on Big, which I relate to a lot because I see so many similarities in me and him. Like just his mom being from Jamaica and, like, you know, her being a single mother, and him, like, you know, just being like a passionate, like always passionate about music. There was something that Diddy said in the documentary where he was like, he is like a R&B singer Like he raps, but he wasn't like any other rapper, and I look at myself the same way. And there was even somebody else in there that was like, he moves with the sound of the drums. Like, and I feel like I rap that way too. Like, if you listen to how I rap and the way my flows and cadences are, they're moving with the drums. But that comes from my ancestry as well. But this is like one of my favorite rappers ever. Like, this is the dude. I'm about to put this in my room. Like, this is fire. I've always wanted one of these too. This is fire. This is definitely going in my room.
This one I gotta read off everybody knows I got little flashcards. But when I was like preparing for this interview, I was just like telling Miles, like, oh, I looked up this, and then I told him about the toy. And he was like, oh, you're doing your 5 Ps. And I was like, what are the 5 Ps? And he said the 5 Ps of, shit, I forgot. It's something like business related, whatever. He said the 5 Ps is positivity, proactiveness, preparedness, promotion, and passion. Oh, 5 Ps of success, that's what it is. I'm trying to find a way to talk to you about, like, you've been so prepared and like you've almost been like training for this your whole life. It seems like. I was like, he's really been on his 5 Ps like since he was a kid.
Facts, that's hard. 5 Ps.
5 Ps.
Pushing P.
5 times.
Facts.
I was like, that really sums Reuben up perfectly. You've been in the room really for years now. You know, you've been making music. But now that you're in this room where it's like almost like at a executive level, I guess, with Roc Nation, what does your journey look like to establish and be known as like one of the greats on a wider scale? What does this journey look like for you?
Kendrick Lamar said it the best when he won the Grammy for Mr. Morale. I'm just an underground rapper infiltrating the mainstream. And I come from the Ninth Wonders of the world, and you know, and they come from the essence of hip hop and underground hip hop. But I've always saw more for myself. I was like, I come from this tree of hip hop, and you know, I studied the game and did all my research. I believe I can be as successful as the top rappers and still be myself. Now that I'm in these rooms, and you know, it's just a testament to me seeing that, of me being like, Kendrick said it the best. Like, but I feel like I have always been thinking like that. And where it's like, I'm just an underground rapper trying to infiltrate the mainstream. Where it's like, I want to get messages across to the point where the whole world can take it up, because that's one thing I feel like, you know, a quote unquote conscious artist, I feel like people need to reword conscious, because conscious is just you being aware of your surroundings. So Future can just be as conscious as me. If Future, you know what I'm saying, his surroundings was Dirty Sprite and, you know, strippers, then he's being conscious, you know. But to everybody like who calls people conscious rappers, like I feel like a lot of conscious rappers come off preachy and like, yo, y'all gotta do this and change your life and do this and do that. Where for me, I've always felt like I never wanted to be the preachy person, but I wanted to be like, hey, I went through just what you're going through, but this is how I navigated to pull myself out of it. So I can give you the keys to pull yourself out. Or like, it's okay, you're human, but you can still exceed and be successful. So my goal is always to just put the message forward in the music, but I want to do it at a high level. I'm not rapping just to rap to the person on the street like, hey, you need to change your life. Like, that's not what I do it for. But I do it so I can impact people, and I know my responsibility as an artist too. So I'm like, all right, I have this voice. People, you know, admire me. How can I take this voice that I have and the words that I want to say and be able to expand it to the whole world? Because that's what somebody like a Bob Marley did. You know what I mean? That's something like a Tupac did, you know what I mean? Where it's like, they were so free thinkers and revolutionaries, but they was also well known at the same time, and, you know, quote unquote mainstream. Where it's like now, even when they're not here, people wearing Bob Marley shirts who don't even listen to a Bob Marley. You know what I'm saying? Where Tupac is on people's walls, and everybody know Tupac, even if you never heard a Tupac song. You know what I'm saying? So I just always felt like I could be able to get the message across, because I feel like a lot of people feel like you got to sacrifice one. You can't be yourself and reach the mainstream. You got to be this way and be this way. And I'm like, I disagree. So I feel like for me, now that I kicked down the door, it's like now I got to climb this ladder of putting the medicine in the cake.
That last line, putting the medicine in the cake, that's great. J. Cole said it best. There's beauty in the struggle.
Facts. Success. Facts.
So past 2 years has been a lot. Been on Sway's Universe, Rock Nation Brunch. There's a lot of different things going on.
Facts.
And people can look at that from the outside and be like, damn, he going crazy, like he's on the top. But sometimes when you're in that position, you're like, this is really cool, but I need to be here.
Yeah, facts.
2 of my friends, thought of this kind of randomly just now, but like one of my friends makes clothes, the other one videographer. And both of them, like, people can compliment them so much. Like, oh my God, I can't believe you shot a music video for this person. Or, oh my God, did you see this Celebrity Warrior, the hoodie or whatever? And both of them can be like, that's really dope, but like, I'm still not booked every single day of the year, and
right.
I still don't reach $1 million order this year. So people define success in different ways. How do you define your own success?
It's funny you say that because that's something I've, dealt with, where it's like, people like, man, you doing it, and I'm like, bro, I'm far from where I think I'm supposed to be. Mm-hmm. But one thing, and it's funny that you brought this up, because I feel like everything happens for a reason, and you even bringing this up synchronized with what I was listening to on the way here. I listened to this thing by Eckhart Tolle, and he was talking about how so let's say I have a goal of being the greatest rapper of my generation, right? I have to feel like that now if it's ever going to happen. So the same way you will feel if you got that $1 million, you need to embody that now before it even happens. And yeah, it's gonna take some time and ups and downs and valleys and peaks, but and I'm even trying to redirect my mind now, where it's like, when people say certain things to me, like certain compliments and certain stuff, I'm like, you know what? Like, I am that. And yeah, I'm gonna embrace it, because I am the greatest rapper of my generation. It's now. I have to start feeling like that now before it comes, because you can get the $1 million, but if you're not happy with yourself right now, you're not gonna be happy when you get that M. You're not gonna be happy when you booked every day. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I had to kind of redirect my mind. Before a long time, that was like a battle of minds of like, quote unquote, imposter syndrome, where it's like, people be like, man, you doing it, and I'm like, I'm not doing it just yet. You know what I'm saying? But I realized that you have to, the same way you will feel when you're on top of the world and you're the greatest rapper of the generation, and Complex is saying Reuben Vincent is the greatest rapper of this decade, I have to feel good about myself right now, because when I get to there and they do it, if I don't feel good now, when I continue to live this life and not feeling good, by the time I get there, I'm gonna be feeling the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know, was that a book you were listening to?
It's a YouTube video. I'll send it to you.
There's someone named, what's his name? Jason something. I don't know if you ever came across his videos on Instagram. His main thing in life is he's like a karate instructor for young black men.
Yeah.
Oh, Jason Wilson.
I think I've seen it, yeah.
He has a book called Battle Cry, and he has a book called, he has 2 books.
He had a YouTube video where his son was like crying, and he was like, why you, yeah.
He has 2 books, fire. Like, even, I know they're written by a black man for black men, but even me reading it, there's so much to take away from his books. So
I gotta get those books.
I 100% recommend both Jason Wilson books. I bought them for 2 friends for their birthdays, and they're like, this book changed my freaking life.
Yeah, I gotta get that book. Definitely send me the link.
What was I? Kind of jumping back to the commentary. I'm requesting a commentary now. Yeah. Can you tell me what A Tribe Called Mess is? What is A Tribe Called Mess?
How'd you find that? All right, so.
And why are they nothing to play with?
Yo, all right, so when I was 13, I was trying to build a crew or whatever, and I forgot the acronym, what the acronym stand for, but it was like MESS or something like that, A Tribe Called Mess or something like that. And I was just like, yeah, this is gonna be my crew, because they had like good music, Our Future Wolfgang. So I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be mine, A Tribe Called Mess and this and that. And it was me and one of my good friends named Tyler Loyal, who's from Boston, who I've known since I was like 9 years old. And ironically, we both got the same manager, and then we both met him at different times. You know what I'm saying? Not even on the same, but yeah, I was just trying names at that time. But then it was short-lived. But how did you find that? What in the world? I was like, how did you know that? Like, what? But yeah, that was a name. Like, I was trying to build my crew, and like, you know, I had seen like all these rappers doing it, like, you know, Young Money, Good Music, Odd Future, TDE. So I'm like, yeah, I gotta find an acronym that, you know, relates to me and my friends. And at the time, it was a Tribe Called Mess, and I don't even remember what that acronym was.
MESS. Money, everything.
Something. There was another one we had. It was called Glad, and it was like good luck, and I forgot the A and D, what this stood for. But I was a kid. I'm trying still.
You make anything when you're a kid, but now I know what a Tribe Called Mess, because I was like, what the heck is a Tribe Called Mess? I know what a Tribe Called Quest is.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, now you got Third World.
Yeah, facts.
For people who don't know what that is, kind of just touch on that. What is?
So Third World, and it's funny, that actually was a name that my older cousin Nuke came up with when I was like 9, 10 years old. He was working with another artist out of Charlotte named Sehu. And they had started a crew. First they was gonna name it Thorough World, but I think they ended up calling it Positive Fresh. And then it was just for some reason, like, you know, as I got older and like, you know, I started like realizing stuff about myself, like I told you earlier, where it's like, I'm having these conversations with my parents, you know, really tapping into my Liberian roots, and like, you know, my family being from a third world country. I called my cousin, I was like, well, you remember that third world name? And he was like, yeah. I was like, we should use that. And he was like, that's us. And you know, for me, third world, you know, obviously he made the name, but I made the definition of what it is, you know. Obviously my parents is from a third world country, his parents is from a third world country. My guy, Johnny Kane, who, you know, I'm rocking his clothes right now, his parents is from Sierra Leone. That's one part of it, but it's not just that, because I feel like anybody can be from a third world. If you're a young black man who's living in the projects, you're from a third world country, because that's poverty, you know what I'm saying?
That's real.
You feel me? So it's like, I want everybody to relate, and it represents being a rebel with a cause. You know what I'm saying? Rebellion, but you're rebellion because you have a purpose and you're doing it with good intention. And then also too, looking at the world from a third perspective, hence the third eye. You know what I'm saying? So just being, you know, tapping into, you know, the spiritual core, and like seeing the world for what it is, and knowing the world has its ups and downs, but, you know, kind of seeing past the external and tapping into the internal. And, you know, I just thought it was like, so it was catchy, and it just was on brand with everything else I was doing. So I was like, man, we gotta make Third World. And I was like, man, that's one thing I'm missing, is just my collective. And then once I started having my friends who's creatives, and, you know, we bouncing ideas off, I'm like, man, we gotta coin a name. And then Third World is what I came up with.
And I think that's perfect. And like I said, it'll never leave you being a first generation immigrant. Like, it'll literally never leave you. So I think that wraps it up for me. I know you're a sneakerhead. What we got on the feet today?
Oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? We got lightnings, you know what I'm saying? Lightning Force, something like, you know, today. But it's funny because I'll tell you a story about Force. When I was a kid, I had a pair of Thunder Force, which I'm now trying to get. They're supposed to be dropping the Thunder Force later on this year, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm trying to get them so I can complete the pack. But when I was a kid, when I first started getting into sneakers, my first sneaker introduction was Thunder Force. My mom bought me for Christmas. And I remember I deleted it off YouTube, but I did like a sneaker review in like 6th grade on them and all that stuff.
Different pants, different angles.
At this time, obviously my mom wasn't financial enough to get me shoes all the time that I wanted, but I'm always on Facebook, Sneakerhead Society, trying to trade.
SOE?
Yes, begging my dad for $150 so I can try to flip it and get more shoes, and then flip those shoes, etc., etc. When I was in middle school, I didn't let go of my Thunder 4s because they had sentimental value to me, because they were the sneakers that brought me into being, you know, a sneakerhead. I remember one day I went to my dad's house, and my little sister took a key and scraped all on the side of my 4s. And mind you, I have those shoes. I think I had some like KDs and some Stealth 3s at the time, and possibly some like Air Maxes, or like some Nike, whatever, Flight something, I don't know. They weren't nothing to be hype about, but those were my rotation at school. And I was so sad when I came back to my dad's house, because I left them there and they were chipped on each side of the shoe. But I was like, I'ma still have to wear them. So I had to go to school with Chip Thunder.
They look like some 85 forms.
Yeah.
Like some old vintage. The Soul Crumbling, they just came out.
Yeah, and people was clowning me. They used to be like, they used to call me Paint Chip, all type of stuff. Like, kids really like.
Yeah, they cruel.
They cruel,
and
man.
It's so different now because I picked up my brother. This was like 4 years. He's out of high school now, but I picked him up from school. They had BAPE jackets on and MCM backpacks. And when I was in high school, it was foam posits.
Facts.
Like,
Stussy,
yeah,
you know.
for real. Like Odd Future donut shirts.
Yeah,
like,
bruh.
Back then, you treasured things.
100%. To the point where I was still wearing them shoes. Like, I was not letting go of them shoes until they fully, like, completely discombobulated. And, you know, it built character because I think for me, it made me appreciate stuff more as I got older and I was getting more and I was starting to get into sneakers and stuff like that. Like, I started to appreciate my shoes more because of not being able to afford it at the time and then having to walk to school and people looking at my fours like, bro, you got some paint chipped off on you. And I'm like, yeah, I know. It's definitely, but I need to get them Thunder 4s back so I can complete the cycle and bring it back full circle.
Any last words? Because I'm good. My mind and heart is clear.
Love is War is out now, but y'all knew that. It's been 5 months. Thorough World, more music is on the way. Like I said, Humble Beast is out now. And yeah, get used to this face. I say that after every interview, but I'm gonna keep saying it until y'all get used to it. And y'all haven't got used to it yet, so.
That concludes episode 4 of my series. You can click here to watch my last episode with Miles Got Soul. You can click here to watch the episode before that with Miss Asset Devotions. Thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate y'all. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see y'all next time.
Yeah.
Bye.